Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast. My name is Kaylee.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are your co-hosts.
In this show, we're going to dive into all things our lives, from our partnership to romance to entrepreneurship to growing our businesses together, our fitness journeys, and we're going to have a ton of different guests on that relate to what I just said in some way. We're hoping you enjoy the show, and if you do,
please feel free to follow us, leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and enjoy.
And if you don't like the show, tough. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the We Get to Do This podcast. I am Coach Jacob. I'm solo again today for this 2-part series that we decided to do on strength training for runners. So if you have not yet listened to part 1 of this series on why you're strength training, how you're strength training, and what you're strength training, that episode gives a very good overview on those 3 things and background into strength training for runners and the importance of it and how to fit it into your running and why you should be doing it and, again, what you should be doing. So make sure to go back and listen to that one before you listen to this episode. To be honest, I'm recording both of these at the same time, so I don't know what episode number that last one is, and I'm not even sure what it's called yet. So when it does come out and when both of these are out, it will be in the show notes of this episode. So future Jacob, right now, this is in the show notes, so you can go and click there, but it's likely something like why, how, and what you should be strength training as a runner or something along those lines. Now, this episode, I wanted to kind of take it a step further. I have a lot of people who now have been strength training for a while, and they're getting a little bit more into they've gotten through the body weight stuff, they've gotten through, the 3x10 rep stuff, and they want to start lifting more for that power strength that we hear all the time. Runners should be lifting for strength. It's very important to be staying strong and creating power, etc. And I agree. Yeah. So when I have a plan, I like to think about it as a year, but you can kind of think about this, and the way we're going to talk about this is kind of your different seasons of running. Just like with running, when you first start a prep for an A race, say you're doing a spring, June, May A race, whatever that is, whatever distance it is, doesn't really matter a whole lot right now. You wouldn't just start at the peak volume, and you wouldn't just start at the peak intensity that you're at for that race, mileage-wise, in running, right? You would start at a more digestible amount and work your way up, and that's a whole different conversation, but strength training should be the same way. You're going to start every season a certain way, and it should change throughout the season. So you can think about this as you have 4 different phases with strength training that mold nicely with your running. You have your off season / like that base building phase, and this phase kind of molds into or can mold into phase 2, which is like pre-season / race prep. We'll get into the differences in a second here, but they can kind of blend together, and you'll likely understand why, and I'll explain that more. But then you have phase 3, which is your in-season. Now you are, 16 weeks out from the A race, 12 to 16, depending on who you are, right? You're very much in the midst of things. You're training, you have specific speed work, you probably have specific long runs, etc. That's a big shift in the weight room. So that preseason race prep is a good thing to remember for phase 3. And then that in season is phase 3, not preseason. In season is phase 3. And then that phase 4 is what happens during the taper week / your race week, roughly like 10 to 20 days out, depending on who you are, and then into race week. You'll see a shift again. Now, when we get to that part, I'll reiterate this, but you will see a shift, but you will not stop. A lot of people love to stop. I've heard that many times, like, I'm going to stop strength training 10 days out from the race because I'm not getting adaptations anymore. And in my mind, it's like, you wouldn't stop running right before your race for 10 days. Why would you stop strength training if you've been strength training for the whole build? If you're not getting quote unquote adaptations. That has never made sense to me. It's still your body is going through a lot. It's still a very important time to mitigate injuries as it's recovering. And not only that, but the performance aspect of it and boiling down to tendon stiffness and elasticity of the tendons. And it's all very important still. So I digress. Anyways, so those are the 4 sections. We're going to talk about each section a little bit more in depth here. The exercises you should be doing. We're going to talk about the sets and reps I would recommend doing, the total volume you should do, when supersets and circuits kind of fit in through those 4 phases. And then I'll likely talk about some different exercises, specific lifts and whatnot that I like to use as well. So let's start off with the off-season / base building. So you just finished up an A race, say in October, November, December, whatever, and you're starting this off-season prep for your spring race. This could be typically 4 to 8 weeks, right? During the off-season, I will also say, in addition to strength training, this is when I am doing a lot more cross-training and higher intensity workouts to just become more fit for the training that's going to happen. Become fit enough for the training that's going to happen in the future. So what I mean by that is, in addition to strength, this is when I'm doing different activities like maybe high rocks, CrossFit, maybe hopping on the bike and doing Tabata rides, things like that. So keep that in mind too, as mileage is likely down here, right? You are hopefully going to be doing this 2 to 4 times a week. This is your section now where we are focused on building some muscle mass. Gaining 5 pounds here would be a good thing. Building some muscle mass. You're not going to get that bulky. And building durability for, again, the upcoming higher volume you are going to do. You are prepping your body and becoming as strong as possible and really building that base. Okay? This is the time to build your overall strength. When we think about strength, think about your muscle fibers as a rope. This is the time to teach the body how to recruit as much muscle fibers as possible and to grow the size of some of those fibers in that rope analogy. That's what this is for. So what does that look like? Again, 3 to 4 times a week. You're probably going to be doing somewhere between 4 and 8 reps, depending on who you are. The reps, think about it more as you should feel like you are moving through molasses. It should feel like you are grinding through the reps. You should not be able to move the weight in these exercises that fast. It should feel like a grind. 4 to 8 reps. If you can get 6, 7, 8 reps, you should maybe consider going up. You should you should for sure go up in weight if you're above 8 reps. And, depending on the exercise, depending on who you are, I would like to go see lower, like 4 to 5. Again, it depends on the exercise. I'm likely going to do different reps for, say, a lunge versus a barbell front squat, right? You might do 4 reps on each leg for a lunge, which would give you 8 reps, more time under duration. But then for a front squat, you may do 5, 6 reps, and it might end up being slightly, different because the exercises are slightly different. But you should still be focusing on that lower rep range. As far as sets go, when we're in that lower range, in this pure strength focused build here in the off season, I'm looking at usually 4 to maybe even 6, depending on who you are. usually 4 to 5. So when you add the total volume of all that, it's 60 to 100 reps in a session. I may use supersets, but for the most part, I try to stay away from supersets in this first 4 to 8 week block. I am focused, all my energy is focused on one specific exercise and recruiting as much strength fibers through that one exercise and then letting my body recover. If you go into a superset, you're getting into a little bit of different things that are better, in my opinion, for the later 3 phases. As far as rest goes, you should be resting for 2 to 3 minutes, if not more, between each set. So, if you're back to a squat, if you're doing barbell squats and you do 5 reps and you feel like you could go again after a minute, that was not hard enough. 1000%, it was not hard enough. You should feel like you just worked so hard after that. It's the pure strength, remember. Your heart rate will likely skyrocket, maybe 170, 180. You have to let that come down, just like if you were doing speed work or anything else. That's the first phase I'm focused on. In this phase, exercises I would likely do that will likely also be in the next phase: deadlifts, squats, lunges, bench press, weighted chin-ups, Smith machine hip extensions, trap bar deadlift, barbell RDLs. I may get into step-ups and Bulgarian split squats, but I would likely save those for the next phase. Again, I am thinking about more so doing actually bilateral movements here, less single leg stuff, and I'm saving that single leg stuff more for after this phase. This phase is short in relative to the rest of the lifting, right? This is maybe 8 weeks, maybe 2 months of that whole block. It's probably closer to 4 weeks. So you're not really doing it for that long. It's your opportunity, again, to really focus, really hone in on maximal strength, maximal muscle fiber recruitment, teaching the CNS, central nervous system, how to recruit more fibers, and just boosting the heck out of our bones at the same time. The last thing I will say on this is, from a hormone standpoint, this section is going to boost testosterone. It's going to boost HGH. You should feel like it'll help with estrogen as well. You should feel like when you are doing this afterwards that you could go sprint faster than you could beforehand, right? Like you are rearing to go. It should feel like it fired you up and it gave you a lot of energy. It should not feel like it crushed you. It should not feel that way. And as always, be smart. Don't lift with your ego too much, all right? That is phase 1 of off-season / the base building phase before we get into phase 2. So now we're going to get into phase 2, which is a really nice kind of blend / transition from that off-season. And this is going to be, again, depending on who you are. Now you're looking at more like 4 to maybe 12 weeks, depending on who you are. It depends on when your races fall, things like that. These phases can have different lengths, but this is where the specificity comes in, and you need to talk to someone. Feel free to reach out or get some, advice. So that first section was all about strength. The second section is going to be kind of blending / transforming now more into understanding like power and velocity. And as runners, it's very important for us to be strong. However, depending on what you are and what you want to do and who your goals are, likely you also want to be powerful and relatively quick. Be able to use the strength for something. good analogy for this that I once heard is you can think about a boulder, a baseball, and a paperclip. Your boulder is, if we were going to try to move all of these, throw them all, right? Your boulder is like that strong man strength. You're not going to be able to throw it very far. There's not going to be a lot of speed and power behind it, right? The paperclip is the opposite of that, right? You are going to be able to throw that thing super, super fast. It's going to have a lot of velocity, but there's not a lot of strength behind it. There's not a lot of mass behind it. Whereas the baseball is kind of in the middle. You're able to throw it. There's a good amount of strength to it, and you're also able to throw it nice and fast, right? So we build the strength, and then we kind of go towards that baseball section, right? And be able to start using that strength. Back to the rope analogy. If we have the rope and we've created more muscle fibers now, we need to teach the body how to use those muscle fibers and make them more specific to our sport, running in this situation. So phase 2 now is going to get into that a little bit more. In addition to that, phase 2 is typically where I'll start introducing like single leg stuff as well. And I will start doing supersets here now too. This is phase 2 is what I believe true kind of athleticism, starting to do everything in the weight room. So we're converting strength now into power in phase 2. Depending on where you're at, you might still do 2 to 3 times, but you should for sure still be doing 2 times. Superset wise, now we're thinking for the heavy exercises, I'm still keeping these at that 6 to 8 rep range. But if I'm supersetting it with a power exercise, say you go from a squat and then you do box jumps and work on lifting maximal strength, now we're going and converting that immediately and moving as fast as we can with substantially less weight in the same pattern. That first exercise I'm going to do lower rep, and that second exercise I'm now going to do probably around 10 reps. Another example, doing, say, a bench press, lower rep, and then like a med ball slam. Those types of things. Instead of doing 4 to 5 exercises, now I might start doing somewhere between 6 and 8. My sets, instead of 4 to 6, now it's like 3 to 5. That's going to come down a little bit. And my reps, again, the heavy reps are going to stay relatively the same, but as we introduce like plyometric reps, we're going to start doing slightly higher rep. This is also the section in which I might start incorporating things like isometric holds. Perfect understanding of this is if you go up to a wall right now and push your hand at the wall as hard as you can. Teaching muscles, tendons specifically, how to create maximal tension. So I might introduce things like that as well in this phase. I might also introduce single leg exercises, like I said, and do things like a front squat and then superset it with single leg hip extension bridges on the Smith machine. If I'm doing something like that, I'm still thinking a little higher rep now and a little quicker movement with that single leg exercise. Pure strength, go move. Pure strength, go move. As far as circuits go, you may see some circuits here now too. You may see 3 exercises. I might do something like a front squat and then box jumps or depth drops and then some ladder work right after, right? I may start introducing more athletic combos like that and really confusing the body. But you will definitely see that in the next phase, which is the in-season phase, which we'll get to in a sec. I already kind of talked about different lifts you could be doing for this phase 2, the preseason. If you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out. And I haven't mentioned it yet. You might be thinking like, where's the core work come in? And that's a good question here as well. This is where I would start incorporating more core work as well. But it's going into these phases, it's assumed kind of that you've got like a very strong core, especially coming off of all of the strong lifting you're doing. So like core specific work that I talked about in part one, that usually comes up more in season where I'm doing like side planks with a leg up or just planks or like anti-rotation holds, things like that. I'm not actually doing as much as like the body weight core stuff in the first two phases, but you definitely could throw them in and add it in as well throughout your training. So something to keep in mind there. So we've gone through phase 1 and phase 2. Now we're going to go through phase 3, which is the in-season phase. This is where the risk associated with lifting, specifically lifting heavy, is going to go down a lot because we're going to avoid that risk. Now it's going to be, the focus is much more, we are definitely in season now, right? Training, running wise. Mileage is up, intensity is up, workouts are up, long runs are up, everything's up. Now the focus is on more so maintaining the strength and power you built. You're not going specifically maintaining the strength you build. I still train athletes here in a pretty powerful way. Like you're still going to want to use that, but it's the strength stuff is going to substantially come down now. So now I'm no longer doing at least as much typically of the super high weight, low rep stuff. I may like once a week still fit in like a low rep circuit. Like right now I'm kind of in the midst of a training block. So I may still go and do like 4x5 front squats on like one of my days, but the weight's going to be not nearly as high as it was when I was focusing on pure strength. And it's going to be more so about just maintaining heavier weight and lower reps. So you may still do some low rep stuff, but for the most part, I'm kind of doing now usually around that 5 to 10 rep range typically. It just depends a little bit on who you are, but relatively speaking, I'm usually doing more of that 5 to 10 rep range. You might get 4 to 6, but you also might start doing now 15 to 20 reps, right? For like banded exercises, side planks, single leg exercises, things like that. That maintenance strength, keeping the body strong through the rest of your build. Sets, it's pretty rare I'm doing more than 4 sets. A lot of times I'm only doing 2. 2 to 3 sets is plenty here. Your total volume on this one's going to be like 30 to 50 reps, give or take. I'm doing a lot of supersets here, and I am starting to definitely do circuits more regularly as well, mainly for time. Training's up. I don't have as much time to spend in the weight room, so I want to be very efficient with my time, especially if I'm only in there twice a week. So I'm trying to get through a decent amount in a short amount of time, right? So, and it's more specific to running then. You're doing more athletics, supersetting and whatnot. So again, this phase is where it shifts more to focus a lot on running and less on the weight room. The weight room is your maintenance, but you're still incorporating your plyometrics as well. If you want to think about it in your mind as phase 1, strength up. Phase 2, power up, and strength stays up. Phase 3, power up, strength comes down. Now we're also thinking about core, single leg, maintenance. And then phase 4, everything kind of comes down and we're just getting to the race, staying strong, focusing a lot more on mobility, flexibility, things like that. So I'll come back to phase 4 in a second. But exercise-wise in phase 3, like I said, tons of single leg stuff and tons of core needs to be incorporated more so, and then keep doing power. Don't be dumb. I would also keep isometrics in this phase 2. They're a very safe way to work the heck out of tendons, specifically. Last bit, getting ready for race prep or for the race, tapering that phase. Now it's like I am definitely not trying to set any PRs in the weight room. My strength is down. My power is like at least halfway down from where it was in that phase 2 and phase 3. And I'm doing a lot more of just banded stuff, single leg bridge stuff, body weight stuff, mobility, flexibility, all that stuff I'm doing a lot more of that. I'm focusing a lot more on that. I'm still going to likely do isometrics in this phase as well. I think single leg wall sit, planks, things like that. Those are great here. But I'm really chilling out and spending less time in general in the weight room. It's rare I'm doing anything more than 3 sets. I'm for sure doing 1 to 2 usually here, and reps on everything is like 10 plus. I may do one somewhat heavier session still, like 2 weeks out, but that's it. And I'm trying to get my mind just ready for the race during that phase 4. Train smart with your running, train smart with your lifting. Your strength training and running should work together. It's proper periodization. If you have any questions on the 4 phases I just kind of walked through, please reach out. It's confusing. There's a reason I do this as a career. Everyone is so much different. Even as I was like explaining this stuff in this podcast, I was thinking about, oh, there's an exception there, like constantly, and I would have to like stop for a second and think about it. So this is general. These 4 phases are great to think about. I really, you might see a graphic because this podcast made me realize I really like to think about it as that first phase, strength is up, power is down, maximal muscle fiber recruitment. That second phase, strength stays up relatively high, but it's not the only focus. Now we're focusing on power as well. That third phase, now strength can come down a little bit, and we're focusing more on power, maintenance, body weight, things like that. And then that fourth phase, both come down: mobility, flexibility, band stuff, body weight, a little bit of power, a little bit of strength. It's really light at that end point. Okay. Like I said, I might throw some graphs and charts down below. I know I'm making a blog on this concept as well, so please go read that. It will be linked in the show notes down here. It's just not, I'm currently working on it as I'm recording this podcast. So go look at the show notes now. It will be down there. And if you have any questions on it, please don't hesitate to reach out. We get to do this moment for this week is my running has been really clicking nicely. It must be because of all the strength training I'm doing. No, but actually, running's been feeling really good. I'm building back up. I'm at about 50 miles this week. I don't know what race I'm doing yet, but it feels good to just be moving and running hard some days. And it's not true. I know I'm doing TC10 and Tracksmith 5K. This is recorded in August of 2025. So hopefully I get into Tokyo. We'll find out that. But running's just been going really well, and I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling smooth. The strength training that I've been doing is pairing really nicely. I'm in that phase that just of life and training right now. It just feels like things are clicking. So I'm trying to really sit in that and just remember that like I get to do this, right? So try not to forget those things. Part 2 of strength training for runners. We get to do this, y'all. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, go ahead and reach out. Bye, everyone. Wow, Kaylee, we made it through another episode. What do you think?
We would love if you would go give us a follow, a 5-star review, and comment on the episode and what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
See you next time.
We get to do this.